Hello, welcome everyone. In this short video, we will look at what Internet is and what DNS is and how these are linked. And we will also talk about can Internet survive without DNS and what really happens to us when we try to browse without DNS. So we'll look into all those topics. So that's nothing but our, objectives. We'll see what internet is and see how systems communicate on the internet and little things around it. Next, let's see what internet is. So internet is a worldwide network of devices. So what does it really mean? So internet is one single network that connects systems throughout the world, meaning a system that's connected to internet in China can communicate to a system that's connected to internet in United States because they are part of the same network. So now how do you connect to internet? Right, I was saying that okay, a system connected to China can talk to a system connected to internet in United States, but how do we connect to the internet? So let's say this what you see here represents internet, and that's your computer, it's us. Now how do we connect to our computer to the internet? Now for us to be able to connect, we need someone. I'm going to represent here with a circle called ISP, which is Internet Service Provider. It could be any company that could provide us connection to the internet. That means this company would have connection into the internet to this network, and we would somehow get connected there. So that means we'll have connection from our computer to ISP, which is Internet Service Provider, which is Internet Service Provider. So we'll get connected here, and Internet Service Provider already has a connection to the network or to the internet. Boom, once we are connected that way, we get internet. We can go to Hotmail, we can go to Gmail, we can go pretty much browse the internet. Now in the United States, we have AT&T provides internet, Verizon, Time Warner, we have Comcast. They're all different vendors who can provide this. Now don't get me wrong, it's not just ISP. Let's say you have your cell phone with you, and if you somehow connect your PC to this cell phone using through Wi-Fi, and this cell phone already has a network connection if you have a data plan, and if this is, let's say, a Verizon phone. So if you have a data plan and if you enable Wi-Fi here and if you connect your PC to your cell phone, you can get internet connection here. So that's how you get connected. You need someone to provide you a connection, and you use your cables on your PC or wireless network card, and you're hooked into what? Internet. So once you're hooked, then you can browse Hotmail, Gmail, Google, any websites that are available on the internet. Now, what is DNS? DNS stands for Domain Naming System or Domain Name Service, or server, whatever that is. You want to refer it to as. That's what DNS stands for. Now, why do we need DNS? Number one is, it's hard to remember IP addresses. Let's say it's like, trying to remember what phone numbers. Do you think, you would remember all your friends' phone numbers? It's going to be hard, right? What would you do? We use phone book. I mean, phone book could be the actual physical book where you write phone numbers, or a phone book within your phone where you actually save phone numbers with your friend's name. Our DNS system is exactly like that. It's kind of like a phone book or yellow books. What DNS does is it maps the names to IP addresses. That's nothing but public IPs. Now, what it really means is, let's say, for example, you have a domain names called google.com, hotmail.com. These are like, friends' names. Let's say John and Peter. John has a phone number of, let's say, 732-000-1122. Let's say Peter has a phone number of 214-000-1234. It's in your phone book. When you try to look up John, you'll see this number. Same way, in DNS system, when you try to look for Google, you'll find the IP address of Google. You try to look for Hotmail, then you find the IP address of Hotmail. So that's what DNS is. It just maps, names to IP addresses. Now we'll look into what these names are, how this DNS structure is, that's on the internet, that actually runs the internet. We'll look into that. Now, here, this is how the DNS system looks. It's a very simple form. You might have seen domain names like Microsoft.com, Oracle.com. It's Verizon.com, AT&T.com, TimeWarner.com, all that. So when they originally started, they said .com is primarily for commercial organizations. .gov is for government organizations. .mil is for military. .org is for non-profit organizations. EDU is for schools, universities, etc. And there are like many, like .biz for business, .name, .2-digit for country. So there are many extensions, but these are popular that I've listed here. So when Microsoft wanted to register their domain name, because Microsoft is a commercial organization, they were registered as Microsoft.com. That falls under the .com system. I'll talk about the root here at the end, but within Microsoft, this is anything under Microsoft is owned by Microsoft. Same way with any other organization, meaning if I were to write something like anything Microsoft.com, that is owned by Microsoft and maintained by Microsoft. So when you say www.microsoft.com, it's owned by Microsoft because that's a domain name. Now at the end, whether you actually put dot or not, there is a dot there that represents this root. So in the reverse way, so it's starting with root, then it says what, com, that is here, and then Microsoft, that's here, and www, that's here. Now okay, sorry. So that's how the DNS hierarchical structure is. This is a very simple representation, but this is applicable for any domain name that is available within the DNS system. Any company domain name. You could take oracle.com or or for that matter, let's say for example abc dot, let's say edu. Edu represents educational institutions. abc.edu, that whole thing is a domain name. That's here. So that means there would be abc here. And if you have www.abc.com, then that would be what? Under abc here. www. Now let's take a look at a real example on how the name to IP address resolution occurs over the internet. Say for example, you open on your computer, you open a browser and you did www.microsoft.com. Number one, your computer has no clue what Microsoft.com is. It has no idea. And of course, let us assume that your computer is connected to Time Warner. This is Time Warner, your ISP, Time Warner. That's providing you the internet service. You're paying Time Warner monthly a fee for whatever they're providing, which is internet. And Time Warner is obviously connected to what? Internet. So when you try to browse www.microsoft.com, your system will not be able to resolve it. The request goes to Time Warner's DNS servers. The request goes there. Let's assume that the Time Warner servers have no idea what Microsoft.com is. They have no clue. Now what they do is it goes up the chain. Now DNS server either at Time Warner has to ask a different DNS server to see if they actually know Microsoft.com. Let's say none of the DNS servers within Time Warner have no clue what this Microsoft.com is, meaning they are not able to find, like we are trying to look for a friend's phone number, and going through our phone book or your phone, but you're not able to find the entry in there. Let's say you have, you're trying to find the phone number of John, but he's not in your book or it's not in your phone. So what would you do? You'll go try to find it from another person. Same thing. But this is a hierarchical system, so now the DNS will go, because it's a .com, it can directly go to .com machine and ask him, hey, who is this www.microsoft.com? And the root server, I'm sorry. The root server says, oh, you know what? It's a .com, go to .com. Now .com says, hey, this is what? Microsoft.com. So then it goes to what? Microsoft Network. Now when it goes to Microsoft Network, it's actually www.microsoft.com. So the DNS server at Microsoft receives the request for www.microsoft.com, and within Microsoft's network, there would be some system that is represented by that name, www.microsoft.com. So that system's IP address is passed back to your system. So in case of browsing, you would do http://microsoft.com. So you're going to Microsoft.com network and really going to the system that is represented by www, and you're sending HTTP request, which is at port 80. And HTTP is for what? Web browsing. So what happens is, within the DNS system, www.microsoft.com is resolved to IP address for communication, and when the request goes to that particular server, that server responds back with what? Because this is browsing, you're browsing the website, that system responds back with what? Your home page. I mean to say Microsoft.com's home page. Once a resolution happens and you start browsing. Now, when this initial request happens, Microsoft.com's IP address is saved within the Time Warner DNS server. So tomorrow, when you try to do the same thing, you try to go to www.microsoft.com, and the request goes to Time Warner, and the Time Warner now it already has IP address, so it responds back saying, hey, you know what, use this IP address. So in the background, the whole communication happens on the IP address. But within your browser, you actually see what? The names. Okay. So I hope you all followed. When you try to browse a website, either your system has to resolve it, or if it cannot, the request is passed to the DNS servers that are connected to your system. Technically, those are the DNS servers that belong to your ISP internet systems. And now from there, the DNS systems will somehow resolve that name. And if it is a valid name, it resolves into an IP address and it's passed back to your system. And then your system will start communicating with the target system based on the IP address. Well, that's a very basic introduction into the internet and the DNS system. Now, quick question, as I said, what happens if there is no DNS system in place? It's almost like not having yellow books or not having your phone book. It's simple. You'll not be able to browse because it is impossible for anyone to remember all the IP addresses out there on the internet. So without DNS, practically there is no internet. Well, that's a basic introduction. Thank you very much.